The empty chair. There once was a family who owned a beautiful oak table. It had stood in their home for generations. Every evening they gathered around it. Stories were shared. Laughter traveled from one end to the other. There were disagreements, apologies, celebrations, and quiet moments of understanding. The table carried much more than food. It carried the life of the family. Then the years grew busier. One person began working late. Another often ate while traveling between appointments. The younger ones drifted toward their rooms. And before long, phones began arriving at the table before the people did. No one made a decision to change the family. It happened gradually, one hurried evening at a time. The room still filled with chairs, but the warmth between them began to thin. Near the corner of the table stood one empty chair. No one could remember when it had first been left unused. Perhaps someone had been running late. Perhaps a guest had canceled. Perhaps no one had thought to pull it closer. Night after night, it remained where it was. Soon the family became so accustomed to its presence that they no longer noticed it. One autumn afternoon, an elderly carpenter came to repair a loose table leg. He worked carefully, tightening the joints and smoothing the worn wood. When he finished, he stepped back and studied the room. "Who are you waiting for?" The family looked at one another. "We are not waiting for anyone," they replied. "Then why," asked the carpenter, "does your table look as though it is?" For the first time in years, they truly looked at the chair. Then they looked at one another. The chair was not lonely because a person was missing. It was lonely because their attention had gone elsewhere. Their conversations had become brief reports. Listening had become waiting for a turn to speak. Meals had become another task to complete. They had been sharing the same room without fully meeting inside it. The next evening, the family tried something new. Before supper began, every phone was placed upon the empty chair. Then everyone moved a little closer to the table. At first, the silence felt unfamiliar. Then someone remembered a funny story. A child asked a question no one had expected. An old memory returned and traveled around the table. The grandmother watched them all and smiled. The meal did not last much longer than usual, but everyone left it feeling more deeply nourished. In the years that followed, visitors occasionally asked about the chair, "Why do you always leave it empty?" The family would glance at one another and smile, because the greatest absence is not always an empty place at the table. Sometimes it is the absence of our attention. An empty chair is not always waiting for another person. Sometimes it is waiting for us to truly arrive,